Next up is a writer and performer currently employed by Circles and Ciphers, a Chicago-based restorative justice group that uses hip-hop to engage young men who are court and gang involved in critical discourse. He recently graduated from Wesleyan University in Connecticut, go West, where he majored in sociology, received a certificate in education, and completed the pre-med track. In his last 3 years at Wesleyan, Evan volunteered in the music therapy department of the Connecticut Juvenile Training School, a nearby juvenile detention center, where he designed and implemented a class that examined literary technique and societal inequality through modern-day hip-hop songs. In the summer after he graduated, he served as a full-time employee of this facility, continuing his work with the music therapy department. He has published 2 hip-hop albums, competed in the National Collegiate Spoken Word Poetry Tournament, and runs a variety of writing workshops for youth ages 10 to 20. Welcome to Tuesday Funk, Evan Okun.
Can we just do something really quick? Could everyone just go like this? Oh, he's not down with it. Can everyone just stretch up really far? And take a deep breath in. I graduated from college. Ain't nobody hiring. Feels like I hit the playground and there's no room on the tire swing. Ain't gonna lie, I spent all of college aspiring, thinking monumental momentum and I'd go spiraling. So if I'm bitter, it's simply because I figured that after a viral video, I'd, acquire things. Get to do what Kanye does best. Go to studios and take credit for when the choir sings. I'd be the northern New York City kid. Out the nitty gritty, get to titty lick a lick of what my dickhead desire brings. But I think I wrote too many tracks bashing the capitalist. Now he's getting me back with a slap on the wrist. Pretty soon it'll move to a jab in the ribs in interviews when asked why I've been slacking back at the crib. It's a vicious cycle that they cite as coincidence, and I'm liable to be suspicious except that there was a typo. Y'all, I'm just playing. I actually got a job. And not that dime a dozen got a buzzing on a clock. Not that call a colleague just to carpool tunnels when you wanna walk, cause the novice not gonna get a spot to park up in the lot. Noggin bigger not, you seen him nodding off, you're laughing on the job, cause copping Shonda coffee fucking sucks. None of that. My job's restorative justice. Just like our justice system, minus the enormous budget. Plus hip-hop and discourse that's rugged, minus the slave owner who wants more free labor poured in his bucket. It's a Native American practice we practice in the basement of a Baptist church. So I'm basically perched in a place to give faith to his word, and I've never been one for religious gridlock, but hip-hop for change is a faith I could observe. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Doing restorative justice. I'm interested in anyone who's interested in restorative justice. So if you are, come talk to me, or the founder of the organization, Emmanuel, who's in the corner, who's just, I've learned so much from in the last few months. Yeah, give it a round. So it's alternative to incarceration. If you're interested in prison abolition, please come talk to me. Anyway, doing the work, you get a lot of therapy out of it. Like you just do things like shake your head randomly or feel good for no reason. And I lost all my addictions was one thing that happened. It happened all of a sudden. I was on the train on the L. I think I was passing Bryn Mawr on the red line, and I just lost all my addictions. And I just within a second fell in love with the person who was sitting across from me. And then within like 2 seconds after that, I was madly in love with everybody on the train. And I realized I gotta do something or else I won't fit in, you know what I'm saying? I won't be nervous all the time so people won't like me as much. So I decided to give myself addictions. So I would just spell addiction over and 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 over, and that wore off the way all addictions wear off. So I started to just say a word that started with each letter of addiction. So the first one would start with A, and then D, and then D, and then I, and then C, and then T, and then I, and then O, and then N, and then I would go back to A. Like, addiction does deciding. I can't turn intention on never. And then I would try to stop, but addiction does deciding. I can't turn intention on never. Always driven down in catatonic tornadoes injected often. Numbed arms don't do. Instead, collapse, they inch open nooses and dangle decoratively. Intravenous contractions tingle intimate. Our newly achieved delight delivers itself continuously till inverting out. Now, amazing deliciousness dissolves into canned tarantulas inching onto neck. Apparently, Dad deduced I could think it obsolete. No. Again. Deliver dose in capsule to ignite. Oh. Now, again, duck down into corrosively tactile inventions, obstruct needed airways, drag dilated iris cross town, eye optically no android, doused in cataract. This isn't optional. Neurons automatically drugged down in circles till infinite's over, never accessed deep deliverance, instead craved till I owned nothing. I used to be really mad I had addictions. The central one being that I wanted to be the best person in the world, like the best person in the room, best person at my job, best person at school, get the highest everything, most views, whatever. And then I realized that it's not our fault, because I realized everyone wants that. You know, everyone thinks they're the main character in this room, which is wild. But we want to be just ballers, you know what I'm saying? Like ball out. This is generally not the crowd I perform to, so I don't know if y'all know what baller means, but it's just like, if you just ball it out.
We're there, Evan. We're there.
For sure, thank you. But it's not our fault, because I realize it's white slave owners taught money overall. That's the reason that we think it's lovely to ball. Bodies by the boatload cutting through the raw, like whips up in the closet, money in a ball, coke up in the dashboard, bloody on the wall. Everybody know cotton fluffy in the fall. Now I see the same shit bumping in our songs. Hear it in our footsteps running to the mall like, yeah, cop a deal on the new pair of shoes that you got to feel. Nike reported it took a lot to reel Michael Jordan into the room where the pot gets peeled. But he sat down next to suited up men who invented the whip, saw paper cuts that indented the tips of their fingers, and so he was tempted to dip, but figured he'd stay, at least hear what the half-bald men had to say. That's when they passed him, pen on a plate. Ink was the blood from the whip. Michael Jordan's front tooth sunk in his lip. One of the bald men stood, clung to his dick, and said, "First you must learn not to feel. For those today who have not a meal, don't have job for no po folk, that's why we gave them pot to deal, and we gave it to the rich kids too, but told the cops not to care what the rich kids do, cause we do got jobs for them, so long as they take what we offer them, make sure they're making us profit and put the pill in their palm and pop it in, come on, pop it in, that shit go down smooth as Klonopin, electrons get to colliding in, you got till you're hunched up vomiting, the throwing up Gatorade ramen and the other synthetic shit that we bought for them. It's a really pathetic the life we offer them. The men chuckled. Then were silent. Till Jordan interrupted them. What if your kids see the problem and choose to use what you have to stop it, man? Oh, Michael, stop it, man. You think we haven't thought of them? Every weekend we give them models and a lot of gin, plus some pot to spin into double wide papers that they profit in, so come Monday they're down to do it all again. Look around you, Mike. Nothing's changing, and they're okay with that. I do think change has to happen for sure. And one thing I do to remind myself when I get real hopeless is I just remind myself of my ex-girlfriends, because that shit changed OD. I didn't know them, and then I knew them, and now we don't really know each other at all. But there's this one time, it was me and my ex-girlfriend Julie, and we were sitting atop this hill. It was like we were sitting literally right at the top, and tombstones rippled in every direction. And beside one stone slab stood a tall tree, bark carved. And Julie wondered how many of the dissolving bodies beneath had ever carved their name into something. When I was in high school, I carved my name all over Manhattan. This past summer, I saw the last of my graffiti being washed off a brick wall by a 51-year-old man in overalls. He was not wearing shoes and had no left thumb. He looked up at me exhausted and asked how long Julie and I had been broken up. Since June, I replied. He nodded and kept scrubbing. I apologized for my ego, which by that time had begun hurting his wrist. He did not respond. So I apologized again, insisting his shoulder was sore. He turned to me and said, "Ego or not, we're all going to the same place." Then after some silence, he added, "I hope you and I are buried next to each other, so an ant that does not yet exist one day can be full of us both. Then," he says, "you will be forgiven."